Hello and welcome. I'm Rawa, and in this video I will be giving you a brief explanation of all machine learning models. So let's get started. All machine learning models can be categorized as supervised or unsupervised learning. We will uncover each one of them and what all types they have. Number one, supervised learning. It involves a series of functions that maps an input to an output based on a series of example input-output pairs. For example, if we have a dataset of two variables, one being age, which is the input, and the other being the shoe size as output, we could implement a supervised learning models to predict the shoe size of a person based on their age. With the supervised learning, there are two subcategories. One is regression and other is classification. In regression model, we find a target value based on independent predictors. That means you can use this to find relationship between a dependent variable and an independent variable. And in regression models, the output is continuous. Some of the most common types of regression models include linear regression, which is simply finding a line that fits the data, its extensions. Include multiple linear regression, that is finding a plan of best fit, and polynomial regression, that is finding a curve for best fit. Next one, decision tree. It looks something like this, where each square above is called a node, and the more nodes you have, the more accurate your decision tree will be in general. The third type, random forest. These are assemble learning techniques that build off over decision trees and involve creating multiple decision trees using bootstrap dataset of original data and randomly selecting a subset of variables at each step of the decision tree. The model then selects the mode of all predictions of each decision tree and by relying on the majority wins model, it reduces the risk of error from individual tree. Next, neural network. It's a quite popular and is a multi-layered model inspired by human minds, like the neurons in our brain. The circle represents a node. The red circle represents an input layer. The blue circle represents a hidden layer, and the green circle represents the output layer. Each node in the hidden layer represents a function that input goes through unlimitedly leading to the output in the green circles. Next, classification. So with regression types being over, now let's jump to classification. In classification, the output is discrete. Some of the most common types of classification models include first, logistic regression, which is similar to linear regression but is used to model the probability of a finite number of outcomes, typically 2. Next, support vector machine. It's a supervised classification technique that carries an objective to find a hyperplane in n-dimensional space that can distinctly classify the data points. Next, naive Bayes. It's a classifier which acts as probabilistic machine learning model used for classification tasks. The crux of the classifier is based on the Bayes theorem. Coming up next, decision tree, random forest, and neural network. These models follow the same logic as previously explained. The only difference here is that the output is discrete rather than continuous. Now next, let's jump over to unsupervised learning. Unlike unsupervised learning is used to draw inferences and find patterns from input data without references to the labeled outcome. Two main methods used in supervised learning include clustering and dimensionality reduction. Clustering involves grouping of data points. It's frequently used for customer segmentation, fraud detection, and document classification. Common clustering techniques include k-mean clustering, hierarchical clustering, mean-shift clustering, and density-based clustering. While each technique has different methods in finding clusters, they all aim to achieve the same thing. Coming up next, dimensionality reduction. It is a process of reducing dimensions of your feature set. Auto-state simply reducing the number of features. Most dimensionality reduction techniques can be categorized as either feature elimination or feature extraction. A popular method of dimensionality reduction is called Principal Component Analysis, or PCA. In fact, there is a ton of complexity if you dive into any particular model, but this should give you a fundamental understanding of how each machine learning model works. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.